Eden Rift, a science fiction story about seven military individuals of diverse races, males and females, is given a mission to land in an ancient, dark, eerie jungle that is filled with prehistoric dinosaurs and strange events. The helicopter rose with a shriek and dwindled to a black dot against the golden dawn, leaving behind 10 people standing on a flat rock ledge at the edge of the world. They turned to look at their new domain. Before them stretched a vast basin swaddled in mist. Trees like titans, thick-limbed and flowering, clawed at the sky, thick. Vines dangled like serpents. Beyond that, nothing but green, as far as the eye could see, rolling away in layered ridges, wet and gleaming in the morning heat. It was like stepping back into the dawn of time. Dr. Emily Vargas, expedition leader and paleoecologist, scanned the valley with an unrestrained grin. Her khaki shirt was already stuck to her back with sweat. She held a tablet computer, futilely trying to get a signal before sighing and turning it off. Well, she said brightly, welcome to Eden. Try not to get bitten by anything you can't find. She glanced over her team, each visibly uncomfortable in their own way. Jackson Fry, the trapper and survivalist, spat a jet of tobacco juice onto the rock. He was the oldest of them all, in his mid-50s, sun-baked, with skin like boot leather. He shook his head. Don't like this place. Too quiet. Too quiet? Scoffed Lin Chen, the news reporter, adjusting the heavy camera on her shoulder while shooing away a monstrous beetle the size of a thumb. You mean aside from the giant bugs? Dr. Sarah Abbasi, a surgeon volunteering as the medical officer, frowned and snapped her first aid kit shut. Check yourselves constantly. I want no infected cuts, no bites you try to hide. We're 2 days from a real hospital nearby. Baptiste, an entomologist, was on his knees in awe, delicately brushing aside the giant leaves to expose a trio of luminous green beetles. Mon Dieu, look at the size of them. They're gorgeous. Keep those away from me, muttered Henry Mills, the documentary sound engineer, as he fought with a net of sweaty hair plastered to his forehead. Maria Alvarez, a botanist, was already collecting samples in vials. The flora is incredible. Some of these plants don't even have a genus match in the databases. Careful where you step. Noah King, an American wildlife photographer, was busy snapping shots of the canopy with an absurdly large lens, sweat soaking his bandana, near. Him, Nyasha Lamini, a geologist, ran her fingers along the ledge. These aren't normal limestone deposits, she said quietly. They look fossilized coral. How old is this place really? Finally, Ravi Patel, the tech specialist and drone operator, was cursing softly as he assembled a rotor blade in the moist air. Humidity's going to kill my drones, he warned. Let's get them up now before they short circuit. Emily let them chatter. She enjoyed watching it, the friction, the wonder. The world down here felt primordial. Buzzing clouds of insects that gathered and dispersed like breathing lungs, the wet smell of rotting vegetation, the heat that seemed to make the air pulse. They all came for varied reasons: fame, knowledge, money, survival. But mostly they'd came because the valley was supposedly untouched, a lost place behind impassable cliffs and rapids. A few satellite images showed weird, unnaturally dense tree cover, but no signs of civilization. Nothing dangerous. Nothing that could hurt them. That was what they believed. Emily shouldered her pack. All right. Team down the slope. Our campsite is 2 clicks northeast, near the river. Stay close. Watch your step. Don't lose sight of the group. They started their descent into the green cathedral. Cicadas roared. Giant dragonflies flitted past. Branches cracked underfoot. They did not see at the edge of the mist something large watching them with cold, unblinking eyes. They didn't hear the slow exhale of breath like a bellows, or the scrape of talons on ancient stone. They didn't know yet that in this lost world they were not alone. They moved single file down a slippery ravine where roots tangled like veins. The air was syrup thick and alive with noise, buzzing, clicking, croaking. Emily led, machete in hand, slashing through curtains of vines. Leaves slapped wetly at her face. She tasted something metallic in the humidity, a sign of nearby water. Behind her, Jackson Fry kept a wary eye on the underbrush. He'd trapped grizzlies in the Rockies, but this place unnerved him. Nothing about it felt right. Hold. He rasped, the line froze. What is it? Lynn demanded, camera at the ready. Jackson crouched, a massive track pressed into the mud, 3 toes, clawed. The heel sunk deep. He ran a calloused thumb over it, frowning. Big, heavy, fresh, fresh how? Emily asked. Jackson didn't look at her. An hour, maybe less. Leaned over his shoulder. That's no jaguar. No, Jackson agreed. Not even close. Emily's mind was racing. A big, flightless bird. A giant reptile? There were rumors about the valley old colonial tales of monsters. Des arbors that snatched cattle and vanished without a sound. She forced calm into her voice. We stay together. No wandering. Let's move. They continued, slower now. Maria Alvarez kept muttering to herself in Portuguese, carefully bagging orchid samples as she went. Ravi Patel flew a drone just above their heads, its camera humming. The feed flickered with static before cutting out entirely. Signal interference, he cursed. It's like the forest is eating the radio waves. Nyasha touched the walls of the ravine as they passed, fascinated despite the tension. She traced what looked like fossilized ferns in the rock. This place is a geological vault, she murmured. I've never seen such pristine strata, but Sarah Abbasi shushed her. Focus on your footing. One broken ankle here and you're done. They appeared from the ravine onto flatter ground. The air seemed even hotter, if possible. Giant cycads and ferns created a green maze. Insects thumped. Into them hard-bodied alien. Suddenly Noah King hissed, "Stop." He raised his camera and zoomed in past the foliage. "What do you see?" Emily whispered. Noah swallowed. Something big, moving, about 50 meters ahead. He lowered the camera slowly. It's gone. Jackson scanned the trees. We need to pick a better campsite than a riverbank. Emily shook her head. We don't even know what it is. Oh, I know, Jackson said grimly. It's a wild animal. Lin Chen checked her audio recorder. The spiking levels showed the same thing everyone could hear with their own ears. A sudden quiet insect stopped buzzing. Even the frogs shut up. Sarah exhaled shakily. That's never good. Emily felt the hairs on her neck stand up. All right, she said. Her voice was steady, commanding. We're not going to panic. We stick to plan. Camp at the river. Guard shifts tonight. No solo trips for any reason. Ravi, salvage what you can from the drones. Jackson helped me set perimeter alarms. They resumed moving, this time with weapons and cameras raised. Far above them, in the canopy, something watched, waited, and it was patient. Because in this place, it wasn't the humans who were at the top of the food chain. They pushed deeper into the green maze. The jungle floor was a tangle of roots as thick as Emily's forearm. Mud sucked at their boots, and every step squelched. Ferns towered overhead like parasols, dripping condensation that ran down their necks. The air felt like wet wool. Maria Alvarez, trailing at the back with her plant press, paused to examine a strange purple bloom, the size of a dinner plate. It opened and closed, exhaling a sickly sweet perfume. Smells like death, Lynn gagged, training her camera on it. Corpse flower relative, Maria guessed, but different. The stamens are wrong. Great, said Ravi. He slapped at his neck, smashing a mosquito the size of a coin. Blood smeared his palm. Mutant bugs, mutant flowers. Jackson Fry didn't answer. He was too busy studying the ground. His brow furrowed deeper each time he found another scuffed patch of earth. Finally, Emily called a halt near a trickling stream where they could refill their canteens. As Nyasha filled hers, she glanced up at the canopy and rasped, "That's wrong." They all stared at the trembling bushes. Noah, wide-eyed, pulled closer to Sarah. "What do we do?" His voice shook. Jackson moved then, crouching low, creeping toward the disturbance. "Don't move," he said, urgent. "Don't make a sound." His fingers tightened around the rifle. As he neared the opening, a pair of luminous eyes glinted back at him. Startled, he froze. The eyes blinked, then vanished into the darkness. Jackson backed away, bumping into Lynn. She grabbed his arm, pulling him back. What was that? The question was barely audible, but the fear was clear. Jackson shook his head, his eyes still searching the darkness. "I don't know. I didn't see anything." He felt the weight of their gazes upon him, the sudden realization that they were utterly alone in a hostile place, cut off from help, hunted in the night by something unseen. "Lynn, get the flares," he said, his voice tight. "Maria, grab the rifle. Sarah, stay with Noah. Emily, we need to get a perimeter." Fear prickled at the nape of Emily's neck. She nodded, forcing herself to move despite the tremors in her hands. As she started to pace the perimeter, she pulled her jacket tighter, willing the hair on the back of her arms to stop rising. The forest pressed close, its darkness broken only by the fitful flames of their fire. Every rustle of leaves, every snapping twig sent a jolt of adrenaline through her. Suddenly, a flare burst into the sky, arcing high above the trees. For a moment, the world was filled with an eerie red glow. Then, as abruptly as it began, it was over. Silence fell again, heavier now, punctuated only by the crackle of the fire. Emily continued her rounds, trying to ignore the prickling sensation at the back of her neck, the feeling of being watched. But the longer the night wore on, the more the feeling intensified, growing into a suffocating dread. Every noise was too loud, a branch dropping, water gurgling in the river, the constant insect drone. Then there were the silences. Suddenly Jackson stiffened, his eyes wide. "You hear that?" he whispered. Emily cocked her head. Still nothing. He strained, listening. "There, do you hear it?" Someone or something moving in the trees. Emily strained to listen. The hairs on the back of her neck prickled. "I think," she said, her voice tight, "I hear it too." A shadow detached itself from the darkness, becoming clearer with each step, tall and gaunt, its edges blurred by the firelight. "Oh God," Lynn breathed beside her. Whatever it wasn't human. Emily could see that much. Two glowing orbs, low to the ground, fast as hell, darted through the firelight and was gone again. Jackson fired. Once, twice, the blasts echoed through the jungle. Silence returned. Emily's breath caught in her throat. What was that? No one answered. Maria stared into the trees, eyes wide. "It had eyes," she whispered, low to the ground. "But too big to be a cat, too fast to be a bear. It watched us before it struck. We have to go in the morning," she said firmly. "I don't care what data we collect. We're not equipped for this." Jackson swept his flashlight across the trees. "No movement. It's gone for now." But as they settled again, weapons were drawn, fire burning brighter now. Emily noticed something chilling on the ground near where the creature struck. A single footprint, three-toed, deep claw impressions, and fresh. Emily crouched over the print. She ran her fingers along the deep grooves left by the claws, the mud still damp. Three long toes splayed for balance. The center pad sunk deeply. This thing was heavy. Definitely not a cat, she whispered. Jackson knelt beside her, grim-faced. "Tracks match what we saw on the way in. It's the same one. Been trailing us the whole damn time." No frogs, no birds, no insects. The forest had gone dead again. Emily swallowed. "It's here," she mouthed. Jackson gripped his rifle tighter. They waited, listening. A crack in the brush. Too heavy to be windy. Jackson flicked off the safety. Emily reached for her flare gun. The branches shifted. A huge shadow moved, just at the edge of the firelight. Two golden eyes flashed, reflecting the flames. Emily's heart seized. The shape lowered its head, shoulders bunching, muscles rippled beneath scaled or feathered hide. She couldn't tell in the chaos of flickering light. It exhaled, a low, growling hiss. Jackson didn't wait. He fired. The gunshot was a thunderclap. The shape disappeared in a blur of motion, crashing through the undergrowth so fast it was gone in seconds. Leaves fell like rain. Emily breathed out slowly. The entire camp was awake now. Ravi groaned. Lynn was filming, though her hands shook so badly the footage would be useless. Maria was crying silently, eyes wide as moons. Sarah had her med kit open in front of her, as if it could help. Jackson lowered his smoking rifle. "Won't be back tonight," he rasped, "but it will tomorrow." Emily stared at the tree line, shivering despite the heat. She finally spoke, voice hoarse. "Everyone listens to me." They quieted. "We're breaking camp at first light. I don't care what you must leave behind. We're heading back to the ridge. We're signaling the helicopter." No one argued, not even Lynn. The rest of the night passed in twitching vigilance. Fire crackled. Sparks drifted. In the dark beyond the light, something big circled once, twice, then withdrew. Into the jungle, waiting for dawn. Dawn crept into the jungle like a ghost. Light filtered through the canopy in thin, sickly rays. The fire had burned low, and the faces gathered around it looked older somehow, worn down by fear, by something none of them could name out loud. Emily was the first on her feet, strapping her pack with practiced urgency. "We move in 10," she said. "Bring only essentials. No samples. No gear that slows you down. If you can't carry it and run, it stays." No one argued. Maria packed in silence, eyes red from crying. Lynn's camera was slung around her neck, but she didn't turn it on. Even Ravi didn't protest when Sarah repacked his medical bag for speed. Jackson did a final check of the site, scanning the trees. It didn't come back last night, but it will. They moved out just after sunrise, heading west toward the cliffs, toward the helicopter drop zone. The jungle swallowed them in minutes. They walked in tight formation, single file, and weapons ready. The only sound was the steady rustling of boots against underbrush and the occasional slap of a palm against biting insects. Emily led with Jackson beside her. Behind them, Lynn, Maria, Ravi with Sarah at his side, then Noah and Nyasha. Everyone checked over their shoulders constantly. We're not retracing our path exactly, Emily said. Too risky. We'll arc wide along the north slope. It's longer, but more open terrain. Jackson nodded. Smart. Let it hunt empty paths. No one laughed. By mid-morning, the heat was already punishing. Sweat streamed down their backs. Insects clung to their skin, biting, drinking. Ravi stumbled. Sarah caught him. I'm fine, he muttered, though his face was pale. Just dehydrated. We stop in 10, Emily called back. But Jackson froze, one hand raised. They halted behind him. Ahead, the path split around a clearing. On the far side, something large was slumped against a fallen tree. Emily raised her binoculars. It was an animal. Or what was left of one, a boar, maybe. Its entire hindquarter was missing, bones exposed like snapped sticks, blood soaked into the soil. More disturbing were the claw marks, long, deliberate, parallel, not from feeding, from mauling. Jackson stepped forward, rifle raised. He squatted, studying the kill. Fresh again, he said. The thing is staying ahead of us. Sarah glanced at Emily. It's stalking, like a shepherd, Noah said quietly, herding us. They turned off the path and cut through thicker underbrush. By noon, they were deep into unfamiliar terrain. The trail climbed sharply. Ravi was struggling to keep up. Emily was about to call for another break when she heard it, a scream. High-pitched, raw, terrified, Maria. They turned to see her vanish into the ferns. Maria. Emily shouted. Lynn dropped her pack and charged toward the noise, but Jackson grabbed her arm. Don't then they heard the tearing sound. Wet, violent. Silence followed. They moved slowly, weapons up. 10 paces into the green, they found her pack. One strap was shredded, the other dangled, stained with blood. There was nobody. Sarah's hand covered her mouth. Noah staggered back. Lynn swore, her voice cracking. Emily stood very still. She was at the back, she said, just 30 seconds ago. Nyasha pointed to a drag mark in the moss, deep, winding away into the trees. Ravi was crying now, head down. Emily closed her eyes, jaw clenched. We keep moving. Jackson didn't argue. The hike became a march. No one spoke. They moved as fast as Ravi allowed guns to be ready, eyes scanning constantly. The jungle grew darker even as the sun rose higher, canopy thickening, vines tightening like ribs around a beating heart. They passed a tree where dozens of beetles clung to the bark, clicking in perfect rhythm. Another. Warning sign. Later, a section of ferns had been flattened, not by a creature passing through, but by something lying in wait. When they reached a shallow stream, they didn't stop to refill. No one wanted to stand still. By late afternoon, they finally reached the edge of the ridge. The clearing where the helicopter had dropped them was just visible. Beyond a wall of trees and low mist. We're almost there, Lynn said, voice brittle. We're going to make it. That's when Noah shouted. Behind them, where they'd just passed, stood a figure at the edge of the trail, half shadowed. Still, at first Emily thought it was human, but then it moved. Its shape was long, curved, its limbs too slender, its head tilted with unnatural precision. Yellow eyes blinked once, slowly. Then it vanished into the trees again. Noah stood frozen, breathing hard. It was wearing something around its neck, something red, like a ribbon, or he stopped, looked down. Emily followed his gaze. Maria's bandana lay in the dirt. No one spoke for a long moment. The jungle around them felt like it was holding its breath. Emily bent slowly and picked up the bandana. It was crusted with blood. She balled it in her fist and didn't say a word. Jackson checked the tree line with his scope, the barrel of his rifle steady but his hands tight on the grip. Clear for now, he muttered, but it's playing with us. Lynn wiped tears angrily from her eyes, playing. It took her, Jackson. And what? Leaving us clues? It's a animal. Jackson didn't even turn. Not an animal. A hunter. A smart one. Emily felt the weight of the bandana in her pocket like a stone. We keep moving, she said. Her voice was flat. No more talking. Single file. Weapons ready. Ravi stumbled. Sarah caught him, dragging him along. Noah muttered something about seeing Maria's eyes in the trees. Nyasha snapped at him to shut up. The path narrowed, sloping. Sharply up, roots jutted like knotted bones. They clambered in silence. Sweat ran into their eyes. At one point Ravi fell hard, landing on his burned arm. He screamed in pain. Sarah pressed gauze against the angry red wound. Emily waited, her foot tapping impatiently, scanning the trees. "Hurry," she hissed. Sarah looked up at her. "He can't hurry. He can barely stand. Jackson." Leaned over them. "If he can't walk, he'll get us killed." Sarah's eyes blazed. "Say that again." But before they could fight, Ravi coughed wetly. "Stop it," he whispered. "Please, don't fight. Just get us home." The group fell quiet. They helped him up. They moved. They passed a stream with water the color of weak tea. No one bothered to fill canteens. The jungle felt even thicker here. Green walls pressed in on every side. Vines snagged clothing, thorns scraped skin. Once they heard a shrieking call far off, a guttural, drawn-out sound that made Jackson's eyes narrow. "Not a cat," he said softly. Emily felt her stomach twist. It was late afternoon when they reached the cliff edge. They appeared from the trees like drowning people gasping for air. Ahead lay the helicopter drop's own ragged, open patch of dirt and stone, ringed by scrub and towering trees. The place was eerily silent. They stopped at the edge, breathing hard, eyes scanning. Lynn raised her camera, zooming in on the open ground. "Do you see anything?" Emily asked. Lynn lowered the lens. No movement, no tracks, nothing. Jackson walked ahead carefully, rifle up. "It's too quiet," he said. Emily ignored him. She dug out the sat phone, smashed, broken in the night's chaos. She turned to Ravi, "Your beacon." He nodded weakly and fumbled at his belt pouch. He handed her the emergency satellite beacon, battered, but the LED still blinked red. Emily exhaled, relief cracking her composure for the first time. She flipped the protective cover and hit the button. It glowed green. Signal sent. The group slumped in the clearing. Sarah bandaged Ravi's arm again, mumbling to herself. Lynn sat on her pack, hugging her camera. Noah smoked a crushed cigarette, hands trembling. Jackson stood at the edge of the clearing, scanning the trees. Emily sat heavily on a rock. She didn't want to look at the blood on her pants. They waited. Minutes passed. The jungle watched. Jackson raised a hand. "Quiet," he said. They listened, far off, barely audible deep, rhythmic drumming. Not an engine, not rotor blades. A call, slow, measured. Answering clicks replied from the trees. Lynn began crying again. Sarah squeezed Ravi's hand, whispering a prayer. Emily gripped the beacon, so her knuckles went white. Jackson raised his rifle. "They're surrounding us," he said. Not all doors should be opened, but some open themselves. The characters, animals, and events are all a work of fiction. This video trailer was written and designed by Salene Hill. Thank you for watching the trailer for the Eden Rift. We value your curiosity. Leave a comment and subscribe. You never know what you might uncover.